Good afternoon, students. I'm back here to take the English class for the juniors. Yesterday, we had been doing non-verbal data, where I had explained how to go about writing, changing the text to diagram and diagram to text. Yesterday, we had done the table. We had done the table, bar graph, pie chart, tree diagram, and the flow chart. Out of these 5, we get a choice of 2. One comes as a diagram to be converted to text, and one text to be converted to diagram. Always remember, children, go in for a diagram, because diagram fetches you full marks. Text, however well you write, it is not feasible to give you full marks. Not that I'm saying you won't get, but preferably diagram fetches you full marks. So go in for a diagram, draw it neatly, color it, and prepare a key for the bar graph and the pie chart. The others, and remember, in pie chart, it is always even number. Calculate and check if the percentages all come to an even number. If it's not an even number, that means there's something missing there. Read. Yesterday I had pointed out in a diagram how we had noticed that other languages, the percentages was not mentioned. Another thing that we noticed was in a table, the percentage was not given because it was very, very minute. But they said it's still counted. When it's not given, here in a table, it's not an even number. So any lower number can be mentioned. So these are small things which children tend to make mistake. So children pay more attention and read the question properly before going on to write. Remember, you have 60% of your paper is objective, meaning you have ample time to complete it. In comprehension also, I told you that full answers are not needed. Just the one word or one sentence is sufficient. The other thing that you should remember is numbering. Many students don't have the habit of numbering. They just write, I don't know what that arrow means. Arrow means you're starting from there, but if you don't write the question number, how would we know which answer it is that you are answering? Or whether you are just guessing, learned only 1 or 2, and you're just writing it. That doesn't fetch you marks. When you don't number it, marks are not given. Keep all this in mind when you are writing. Now coming to, we'll do, since grammar is almost completed, shall we do once again the annotations and question and answers from poetry, prose, and non-detailed. Today, I shall start with the first lesson, that is happiness. Happiness is written by Carl Sandburg, where the poet goes in search of an answer. He wants to find out what happiness is. So he goes in search of the meaning, what happiness means. And where will you go for answers? To the most well-versed person. And he thought the professors who teach us the meaning of life. Professors who teach the meaning of life would know what happiness is. But what happened? He was sadly disappointed. They did not know the meaning of happiness. They said we teach life's lessons, but they did not know what happiness is. So next he went to the executors. Why did he go to the executors? Because these were successful people who handled many people under them. They handled many people. And that's the reason why he thought maybe they would also know the meaning of happiness. But he was again sadly disappointed. He was unhappy, depressed, and because he did not get the answer, and one Sunday afternoon, he was walking along the Des Plaines River. He happened to see a group of Hungarians. A group of Hungarians. Do you know who Hungarians are? Hungarians are from the country Hungary. And why did he take up the word Hungarians? Because they are immigrants. These immigrants, a group of them, had a keg of beer. They had accordion. What is accordion? It is a musical instrument. And along with their family, wives and children, were enjoying themselves under the tree. Under the tree. Now, why do you think he mentioned the Hungarians? In what context? Why did he mention that? If you understand the life of an immigrant, you'll understand they have left their country, their hometown, in despair. They had been literally chased out of their country. So how do you feel when you leave your secure place and go somewhere else? You won't be happy. And you don't know what future holds for you. He wanted to point out to you that they had a desperate past and future was what future holds for them, they did not know, but they were enjoying themselves, enjoying the present time. And that's what mattered to him. present with your near and dear ones. And that's when he understood it is not fame, money, or success that makes a man happy. Man is happy when he is enjoying the present with his loved ones. So fame, wealth, or success wasn't the key. Wasn't the key to happiness. So this is the poem of happiness written by Carl Sandburg. Once you know the theme of the poem, children, it is very, very easy for you to write it in annotations or question and answers that is asked. Remember one thing, children, though there are 4 annotations and 4 question and answers in your each lesson, it revolves around the same theme. So if you know the theme, it is very easy for you to reproduce in your own words any annotation or question and answer. Coming to annotation, remember there are 3 subheadings. In some study materials, they are showing 4. But actually, if you see, context or explanation means the same. Context is the explanation of the lesson. So you needn't separate it and write 2. If you have 3 subheadings, what is the first one? Reference. From which lesson or poem it is taken from, and who the author or poet is. This is enough for writing in reference. But those who are writing betterment, it's not sufficient. You need to write a little more about the poet. Like take, for example, happiness is taken from, is written by Carl Sandburg from his poem Chicago Songs. A little more about the poet if you write, it is better for in case you want to improve your marks. But those who are writing supplementary, just stick to who the author and the lesson and who the poet and the poem is. That's enough, children. Learn the, and please remember, if you don't know the name of the poet, don't leave a gap. When you leave a gap, it's not the duty of the examiner to fill in the gaps. It means that you have forgotten, and that's the reason why you have left a gap, and that means marks are deducted automatically. So children, keep this in view. Don't leave any gap. If you don't know, fine, don't write. These lines are taken from the poem Happiness, and here the poet talks about what happiness is. You cover it up like that. But then if you write, this line is taken from the poem Happiness, and the poet is, you leave a beautiful gap there for the examiner to fill. Instead of filling the gap, he will minus the marks. And the other thing that you need to remember is this is a common mistake made by the children. these lines are. Here it is the plural that you have taken, and either that or this line is. But you combine both and write these lines is, or this lines are. Children, if you're writing in singular, use the singular sentence or the plural. Don't confuse both and make you stand to lose marks. Remember, you write these lines are, or write this line is. Okay, children? Then going to the next, after the reference comes the context. Context is the explanation of that particular line. Like I have told you, the poem revolves around two things. That is, one way the poet goes in search of the meaning of happiness. Where does he go? He goes to the professors who teach, who are very wise, and then when he doesn't get the answer, he goes to the executors who are the boss of hundreds of people. Many people work under them. They are very successful, and that's the reason he thinks they can answer his question, what happiness is. When he is disappointed, he goes near the Des Plaines River where he comes across Hungarian. That is where he has found the solution. So read the question and annotation. If it revolves around his finding the meaning, you write about the professors and executors. If it says, how did he find, where did he find the answer of what happiness is, mention about the Hungarians. Don't mention that they are immigrants and nothing. This I have told you for better understanding. As per the poem, it's not mentioned that they are immigrants. You just write that one Sunday afternoon, feeling very depressed, he was walking along the Des Plaines River where he happened to see a group of Hungarians along with their wives and children enjoying themselves. There was a keg of beer and an accordion, and they were laughing, dancing, singing together. This made him understand that living in the present along with your loved ones is what happiness is all about. And that's when he decided it was not fame, money, or success that gave man happiness, but it is living in the present with your loved ones. So the whole poem talks about these two things. So just learn these two, and if it comes in the as an annotation, write with 3 subheadings. The third subheading, context, is the explanation of that line, and last is general relevance. You can write it as general relevance. If you think you cannot remember the spelling, then just write conclusion, children. I hope you know the meaning, the spelling of conclusion. Or you can also write critical comment. Whatever the subheading, it means the same. It sums up the whole about the poet and what he wants to convey. So in this way, you write the annotation. When it comes to question and answer, the same thing you can reproduce without any subheadings. So children, remember, annotations, it's better to write with subheading, and if possible, those who are writing betterment, underline the keywords. Like I told you, the examiner is not going to read line by line, word by word. But if you underline the keywords, immediately the person understands that he just reads the keywords and understands that you have understood the answer and gives you marks. Now going on to the next, the second is the red rose. And this is written by Robert Burns. This is a very simple poem. Very, very simple. Robert Burns here compares his beloved to a red rose. He stresses, everyone knows rose, especially the red one, signifies love. But here he wants to show his deep feeling, and that's why he has stressed on the word red. He has said it twice, red rose. Here he talks about his beloved. He tells her that he loves her. Love is eternal. Here the poet talks about eternal love. And he talks about mortality. Now, what is mortality? Man is mortal. It does. We do not live long, but love lives on. Just like the famous people, when they do a good deed, they are remembered for a long time for their worthy deeds. So that's what he says. He knows he would not live long, but he wants his beloved to know that he loves her till the end. There's no way, even if he is separated from her, he still will love her. And he gives the example of the sun, the seas gang dry. Does the sea dry up? The seas, there are a few rivers that dry up in summer, but seas do not dry up. So he says, till the seas dry up or the stones melt with the hot sun. Is this possible? Both are not possible. And he also compares her not only with red rose, but also sprung in June, but also with melodious song. So the whole poem revolves around his love for his beloved. And at the end, he says that he is going on a journey. 10,000 miles. Yet there can be two meanings, children. In ancient times, travel was very, what do you say, dangerous. It took them, when you think about it, you may think, in what way is it dangerous? It's not as easy as jumping into a plane and going off to a long distance. In olden days, journey were taken place by animals going on horseback, or if it was a far-off country, it was by ship. Remember, ship did not have engine in those days. They depended on the weather. The sail, ever heard of sails? The ship had a sail, and when the wind was in the right direction, the sails would be put up and the ship would move. When the wind changed, the sails had to be brought down, otherwise they would go in the wrong direction. So it took them months to go from one place to the other. It was not so easy. So journey in those, and in between you have storms, tempests, and there are chances that the ship would be shipwrecked. So when they went on journey, they always believe that this may be their last journey. They may return or they may not return. So all this keeping in consideration, when he goes on the journey, he promises his wife, his beloved, that he would definitely come back, meet her again. Meet her again. Like again, I said, the journey was to a long distance away, far away. But yet he says he promised to meet her again. Maybe he meant in the afterlife. There are two ways of taking this, his return. It could mean when he says going on a journey, meaning that he was going to die and would meet her after life. He would still love her again and again. Or it could mean that he was going far away. He expects her to wait until he returns back. So the whole poem, Red, Red Rose, written by Robert Burns, talks about his beloved, whom he compares not only to a red rose newly sprung in June, but also to melodious song. And he talks about his eternal love, where he says, my love will go on till the seas gang dry, till the sea goes dry, he would still love her, or the stones being melted in the hot sun. Despite this, he said he would still, his love was eternal. It was as long as he lived, he would love her. And finally, he ends it with the saying that he was going on a long journey, but he expected her to wait for him because he was going to return. The third is The Beggar, written by Dr. Amagi Venugopal. The third is The Beggar. Written by Dr. Amangi Venugopal. This poem, The Beggar, actually is written in Telugu, known as Bichagadu, and it has been translated by Dr. N. Surender. Dr. Amangi Venugopal wrote this poem as Bichagadu, and this was translated by Dr. N. Surender from Telugu to English. Here, Dr. Amangi talks about the beggar. The beggar is no one but the farmer who works very, very hard right from dawn to dusk. He works so hard, his hands are severed. His feet are bleeding. His back is hunched. With this, you can understand from morning till night when the farmers are working in their fields, bending down, sowing, reaping, harvesting, their backs become hunched and the hands are all, the nails are torn, the hands become soiled and feet are bleeding badly. And more than anything, his eyes are dusky and shadowed. Why are his eyes dusky and shadowed? Because they completely depend on the weather for their proper growth of agriculture. Whatever he is sowing, it depends on the weather. At times, there are drought, the crop gets destroyed for lack of rain, or sometimes there are floods and the whole thing, the crop gets destroyed because of plenty of water. Whatever it is, he is tense. He wants his good harvest, but he still doesn't know whether he would have a proper crop or not. And that makes him full of tension. And the best thing is he feeds the whole universe, but he himself doesn't even have for proper meal. There are times when he is hungry. He gives food for everyone, but he himself grows hungry. And that's what Dr. Amangi Venugopal says. When we see the farmer, don't think him to be a beggar. He is a brother who helps us in every way, who feeds us. And here we have a hot meal but are we satisfied with the hot meal? When mother puts the hot meal in front of us, we are fussy. We do keep on cribbing. Why are we having this? Why can't we have? We are never satisfied. And yet we don't realize that there is a hungry man waiting outside. The hungry man, the farmer who feeds us, but he himself doesn't have 2 square meals a day. And this is what Dr. Amangi Venugopal wants to convey to us, that we should sympathize with these people who don't even have proper food. They work so hard. They're full of tension. Their back is hunched. Their feet are bleeding. Their hands are severed. And yet they are very happy to provide food for the other people, but they themselves go hungry. So it's a simple theme, just like red, red rose. There are no complex themes like the happiness, where there are 2 themes. Red, red rose also conveys one theme, and the beggar also has one thing. Here, the beggar is the farmer who provides food for everyone, yet goes hungry himself. The next poem is The Noble Nature by Ben Jonson. The Noble Nature by Ben Jonson. Remember, children, when you're writing Johnson, don't write H. Usually Johnson is spelled with H, but Ben Johnson, there is no H. Another thing, nature is all around us. Nature provides us with so many things, but do we really appreciate nature? The poets talk about the beautiful sunrise. And when we think about it, yes, the sunrise is good. But how many people actually get up and appreciate the sunrise or the beautiful changing colors at sunset? We don't. There is one beautiful poem written, which I want to share with you. There is a beautiful tree in the forest, and a boy comes and plays around the tree during his childhood. He swings on the branches of the trees. He plucks the leaves and makes a crown around himself. When he's tired, he sleeps in the shade of the tree. When he is hungry, he plucks the fruits of the tree and fills his stomach. He is very happy and plays around with the tree. And the tree also likes the companionship of the boy and loves to feed him, make him sleep, play hide and seek with him, give him flowers and leaves to make a crown around his head. Days pass by. The child leaves the company of the tree because now he is in search of fun and doesn't like to come and play with the tree, which he feels is very childish. As he grows big, the tree misses him. And then one day he sees the child coming towards him and happily welcomes him. And he says, come, come, play on my branches, eat my fruits and nothing. But the boy says, don't have time for it. Now I want to have fun. I want to go and play outside. But to have fun, I need money. I don't have money to enjoy myself. So the boy tree is very unhappy. And he says, can you give me money? The tree feels very unhappy. He says, I don't have money, but I have lots of fruits on my trees. Why don't you pluck my fruits and sell it and get money? The boy happily collects all the fruits and without a second glance at the tree, just disappears. The tree feels sad, but he just keeps quiet. And yet the boy doesn't come. Now the boy has become a middle-aged person. He's become an adult. And then one fine day, he sees him coming. Even then, the tree welcomes him and says, come, now I don't have any fruits, but you can still swing on my branches and sleep in the shade. The adult says, the boy who has become adult says, no, I want to get married and have a family. But to get married and have a family, I need a house. Can you provide me with a house? The tree says, no, I'm sorry. The forest is my house. I don't have a house of my own. But do one thing. Cut off my branches and make a house for yourself. At that, the boy very happily cuts off the branches without thinking about the pain of the tree or the loneliness that he misses in seeing the tree. The tree is very disappointed. He is happy as well as sad. Why is he happy? He is happy that he is giving something of use to the boy. But he is sad because the boy doesn't appreciate or sit and converse with him. Anyway, he provides him with the branches and the boy happily goes, constructs a house, has a family and lives a good, comfortable life, forgetting the tree that had given him everything. Then as he becomes old, one fine day, again he comes to the tree. And this time he says, I'm fed up of life. I want to go far away from everything. And to go far away, I need a boat. But I don't have a boat. Can you give the boat? Now the tree was only one strong, what do you call them? Not that trunk. He did not have no fruits, no branches, nothing. Only one solid trunk was there. So he says, okay, do one thing, cut off my trunk and make yourself a boat and enjoy yourself. So the boy immediately cuts the trunk till the stump and walks away, never realizing how much nature had been helping him. Anyway, finally he becomes very old, hobbles down and comes to the tree. At that the tree says, now I'm sorry, I don't have anything to give you. Then he says, now I don't want anything. I want a quiet place where I can sit. At that again the tree says, he's very happy. He says, my stump is there. Why don't you sit there and rest? This is what nature is. Selfless, always giving. And man is very greedy, who always wants to take everything, but never gives anything. This is a beautiful contrast about nature and man. This is some example I've given, but if you look out, nature is always giving and man is greedy, always taking. So in this poem also, the noble nature, the Ben Jonson talks about two things. He compares an oak tree with a lily. Lily is a small flower and lives for a very short time. It is very short-lived. While if you have seen an oak tree, it is huge and lives for a very long time. So here he is comparing the lily with the oak. Oak is tall, strong, gives a lot of shade, branches are there. But do people really appreciate an oak tree? No, no one appreciates. But lily, it is short-lived. But when it comes out, when it blooms, it spreads fragrance everywhere. And that attracts man's attention. So even if you live a short-lived life, do something worthy that you are remembered. Because if you live like an oak tree for a long time, huge, strong and everything, no one will appreciate you. Your noble deeds are appreciated. Do something that is worthy of being remembered. You must have heard of all great people, whether it's Dr. Abraham Lincoln, Dr. Ian Stein, or Gandhi. All these people have lived and made a name for themselves. But if you see, they had to struggle a lot to become famous. They didn't become famous all of a sudden. They worked hard, they encountered obstacles and learned to overcome them. They believed in the word, it's possible. Nothing is impossible. You must have heard Abraham Lincoln, when he was young, he had to work hard because he did not belong to a rich influential person. And because there was no lights in his house, he used to sit on the pavement, on the roadside, under the street light and educated himself. Likewise, Einstein, everyone knows he is one of the famous scientists, mathematician. But when he was in school, he had been restricted, expelled. Why? Because he had a very curious mind. When the history teacher asked him to learn the dates of the wars and any events that takes place, they wanted him to learn by heart. But he was adamant. He said, if I want to know, I just need to open a book and read. I would get it. Why should I learn it by heart? The only person who appreciated him was his mathematics teacher, who gave the biggest compliment to him. And that was, in a few years' time, it is not me who is going to teach you, but vice versa. You are going to teach me. So these people, though they had lot of problems, left a name for themselves behind. So that's what Ben Jonson says. Living till you are 100 is not enough. You may live only till 40, but do something that is worthy, that is remembered. Just like the lily who attracts everyone's attention with the fragrance. That's how you should do some good deeds and live a worthy life. So with this, I want to end the story. I know I've given you a lot of examples, but one more poem I will do. So another poem is the 5th poem, Keep Going. This, just like other than happiness, where there are 2 themes, all the poems have only one theme. Keep Going is by Edgar Guest. Whenever we come across an obstacle, children, we either divert ourselves or just take a back step. We don't try to overcome any obstacle. Like take, for example, in school, your mathematics teachers give you some problems to solve. You try to solve it, but halfway through one sum, you encounter problem. Instead of trying to think of different way, there are times when a normal way is not going to help. You have to think out of the box. And for that, if you think out of the box, because every problem has a solution, you should think that and try. But what would you do? Tomorrow I can go and ask the teacher. I can't do it, and you leave it at that. At this, you will never be successful. Remember, children, everyone encounters problem. He says, when you come across any problem, take rest. But don't quit. Keep going. You have to go on, because you never know what the other side has. Maybe if you had continued, you would have been successful. So instead of quitting, remember, quitters never win and winners never quit. This is what he wants us to bring forth. I'll give you a very short example. Do we have the time? There was a farmer's daughter who was a farmer had a beautiful daughter, and the money, the farmer wanted seeds. He didn't have money, went to the money lender and took money from him. Now, this money lender was not a good person. He was not only old, he had a bad intention. He loved the farmer's daughter who was beautiful, young, and wanted to marry her. And that's why he comes to the farmer once when they are working hard in the field and says, you needn't pay me back my debt because you are unable to pay my debt. So do one thing, get your daughter married to me. At that, both the father and daughter were flabbergasted. They said, it's not possible. Then he said, okay, let's leave it in the hands of destiny. He has a bag. He says, in this, I'm going to put 2 pebbles, one black and one white. If she picks white, not only she doesn't have to marry me, but I forfeit your debt. But if she picks the black, she has to marry me. And if she refuses, I'm going to put you in jail. Saying this, he bent down, picked 2 pebbles and put it in the bag. The farmer was so worried, anxious and everything, wondering what was the turn would take place and everything. He did not notice, but this girl with her keen eyes noticed that he had put 2 black pebbles. Now, what was she going to do to save herself? If she refused, her father would be in trouble. If she picked it up, she would have to sacrifice. She knew there were only 2 black pebbles. So if you were in such a problem, what would you do? Just sit and say, okay, I will marry you? No, you'll find ways and means to escape. And that's what the girl did. She put her hand, picked it up, but before she could turn and show it to them, she fumbled with it and dropped it on the ground. Now the ground was full of pebbles. Which pebble she had dropped, they wouldn't know. So she said, no problem. I know I was very clumsy, but there's one more pebble in the bag. With that, we would know what pebble I had picked. Now, the money lender couldn't say that she had picked a black pebble, and since there was a black pebble, it's assumed that she had taken it. This is how you should go on, children. You come across obstacles, don't give up. Think out of the box and come up with a solution. Remember, winners never quit. Quitters never win. So never give up. Keep going and try and do your best. With this, I shall end my session. So children, work hard and keep going. Thank you. Have a nice day.